Welcome to part 3 of this tutorial. If you haven't seen part 1 and part 2 yet, I would really recommend checking out those first because we're going to pick up where we left off from those. Specifically, we're going to pick up from part 2. In this video, we're going to learn how to program the image recognition component, as well as what happens when we click the play button. Another thing we'll program is what happens when we reach round 3 and round 6 of the game. So let's get into it. Before we get on to programming the play button and the image recognition, we're going to make two little functions that decides what happens when we get to round 3 and round 6 of our game. Remember that every time we get to a new level, we want to change the image of our avatar. So we want it to be a little bigger. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I'll go to the functions drawer and get the first block. Now, if function seems like something new for you, all it means is a series of blocks that we're going to call from a different place to use later in the app. It'll make sense as we walk through it. So I'll rename this to be round 3 because I only want this to work when I hit round 3 of my game. So when I do hit round 3, I want to change the image of my avatar and I want the title to change to level 2. So here's how we'll do it. We'll go to the avatar title label and we'll get the first block so we can change the text to level 2. And we'll click on avatar 1 image and we'll change the image to be the dog 2 icon. Now, when you repeat all these steps on avatar 2 and avatar 3 screen, you're going to do them according to what your avatar 2 or 3 is. So for example, for me, avatar 1 is a small little dog and my avatar 2 is a panda. So when I go and do these steps on avatar 2, I'm going to use the images of the panda instead. Okay, now I'm going to make a similar function for when I get to round 6 of the game. And round 6 is the last round of my game. So that means I want to hide everything that's on the screen and just say you won and show my avatar. So I'll go to the functions drawer, get another function, and name it round 6. So I'm going to, again, change the text of the title to be you won. And I'll change the picture to be the last icon that I have, which is dog 3. Now we want to hide everything else that's on the screen. So at this point we have a counter label and we want to set its visibility to false. We also have an avatar description. We also want to set that to false. We have the play button, so we'll make the visibility of that false as well. And I also want to give the user the option to start over again. So remember that we had the start over button, but it's not visible right now. So we're going to set that to visible. And right before getting the user to start over, I want the counter of how many questions I got right to go back to 0. So this is just resetting your game so that someone can play it again. So I'm going to go to the variables and get this set app counter block and set it to 0. Likewise, I want to start at the first item of the list again. So I'll go into the variables drawer and get the set app name block and put in scavenger word here. And we're going to set it to the first item of the list again. So we can just grab the exact same thing that's up here and paste it. Another thing you can do is just to keep everything concise is if you right click on any block, you can collapse the block so it looks smaller. And you can do that with all of these. Awesome. So now we're at the part where we can actually program how to take a picture of an item we're trying to find and do the whole image recognition thing. All right, so now we're at the image recognition part. And to do this, we're going to make another function and we'll call it image recognition. It'll make sense in a second why we made all these functions. It'll make it really easy for when we do our last bit of programming. So these are the blocks that will be executed when someone clicks the play button. So when they click the play button, the first thing that we want is the camera to open. So we're going to go into the camera drawer and get the in camera call take photo button. So the photo that you take is going to be stored inside of this variable photo. Next, we're going to go to the image recognizer and we're going to tell it to recognize the photo that was just taken. So we'll grab this photo variable and feed it into the image recognizer in the image category. Now the image recognizer will give us a description over here of what it sees inside the picture that we just gave it. Once the image recognizer has figured out the description, we're going to ask it, is the word that we were looking for, so the word that's stored inside of our variable scavenger word, is that inside the description? And here's how we'll do it. We're going to go inside the control drawer and get this if block. So inside this if block, we're going to attach another block from the text drawer. We're going to get this one that says, does something contain something? So we're going to ask the question, does the description contain our app scavenger word? And if it does, then we're going to do a series of steps. So if the description does contain this app scavenger word, we're going to update our counter variable by 1. So that indicates that we got this one answer correct. So we'll get this block in the variables drawer, the change app counter by 1. Then we're going to change the counter label text. And we're going to change it to be the exact same thing that we had over here. Except now, the only difference is that the app counter has changed in value. So the label will actually show correct, 1, because we have one answer correct. Now, since we've already found our scavenger word, we want to change the scavenger word and find a new item. So we're going to go back to our function that we had over here for round 6 and just copy and paste this block. So the important part here is to change this number. We want to get the second item. So how we can do this is take the value of what our app counter is at and add 1 to it, since we originally started with 0. So we'll go into the math drawer and add this over here, and we'll take whatever the value of our app counter is. At this point, it's 1 since we got the answer right, and we'll add 1 to it, so that makes 2. So that means we'll get the second item of our list. Again, you might want to collapse these blocks just so they're not in your way too much. And when the app word has changed, we want to set the text of our avatar 1 description to be what we had before, find app scavenger word. The only difference is that this app scavenger word is now something different. So all of this only happens when we get the word right. Now, what happens if we don't get the word right? We're going to add an else block. If we don't get the word right, then simply we're going to say try again, and the user will try to find that same word again. So I can just take the text here and copy paste it, and I'll just change the prompt here and say try again. Find a, and then you'll find the same scavenger word that you were looking for before. The only other thing to check is that once the counter has been updated, are we on round 3 now, or are we on round 6? And if we are, we want to run these 2 functions that will change the label, change the avatar images, and tell us that we're on a new level. So we're going to do something similar. We're going to take the if block, and we will ask if app counter is equal to 3, then go into the function store and grab this round 3. What's happening here is that if your app counter is 3, meaning you've gotten 3 words correct, then you will run all the blocks that we had defined here for round 3, which were to change the label and to change the picture of our avatar. And we're going to do the same thing for when our app counter is equal to 6. And instead of round 3 function, we're going to use the round 6 function. So I know that's a lot to take in, but let's go through this again slowly. The first thing that's happening is that our camera is taking a picture. Then we're using the picture that we took and putting it into the image recognizer. Then we're asking the image recognizer that, is the word that we're looking for the one that you found in the picture? If it is, then we're going to change the app counter by 1. That means we got 1 correct. Then we're going to change the counter label to reflect that. Then we're going to move on to the next scavenger word, and we're going to be prompted to find that scavenger word. If we weren't correct, if our image was not correct, then we're simply going to try again. If after the app counter has been updated, we reach round 3, then we're going to change the image of the avatar and say that we went up a level. Likewise, if we reach round 6, then we're going to just say you won and start the game over again. So now we're ready to put all of this together. There's 2 final steps. We want all of these blocks here to work only when someone clicks on the play button. So we're going to go to the play button drawer and grab the when play button click block. And we're simply going to take the image recognition function and add it here. So when someone clicks on it, all of these blocks over here are going to work. The last thing we have to do is when someone clicks start over, we're going to just go back to the pick avatar screen so that they can pick a different avatar or even pick the same one. So we'll click on the start over button drawer and grab this block, and we'll go into control and just say navigate to pick avatar screen. Before we live test this, remember that you have to do the exact same thing for the Avatar 2 screen and the Avatar 3 screen. A simple way to do it is just copy each block and paste it over into the Avatar 2 and Avatar 3 screen, and just change the components using the drop-downs. Remember to also change the images because the avatars on each of the 3 screens are different. I'm going to do that right now, and then let's live test it. Okay, so I'm going to start by picking my avatar. I'll pick Max, and then I'll click the start button. Now I have to find a light. Okay, so everything seems to work. We have correct as 1, and the next item we have to find is a door. Now I'll find a window, and since this will be the 3rd one I get correct, my level should change to level 2, and my avatar should get a little bigger. And that's exactly what happens. And that's when I should win the game. Okay, now I'm on the last round and I need to find a bottle. And I won the game. My label changed and my avatar got bigger, and I have the start over button so I can play the game again. Now I can play a different character or pick the same one and play the game again. So that's it for this tutorial, and I really hope you enjoyed making this scavenger hunt game. Thanks for thunking.